I wanted to take some time today to talk about a common problem that manifests itself in the fall, or when people start to notice it is in the fall. After harvest is done and people have dug potatoes and they take a look and they say, hey, these things don't look right. They have lots of scabs on them. And the pathogen that I want to talk about today is called common scab of potato. Name fits the bill, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. But as typical of most post-harvest problems that are noticed, the solution is actually in season. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what you can potentially do to manage the disease in season rather than learning from it in the post-harvest and saying, I have this problem, now I need to deal with it. So common scab is caused by a fungus-like bacterium. It's soil-borne, has a really long lifespan in the soil, so it's not something you can just kind of wait out. You can reduce it through rotation, but ultimately it's going to be there for quite a while. So avoid introducing it with clean seed. That's one option, but really you're sort of it's once it's in the soil, you're kind of dealing with it. And so let's just assume you have it and let's deal with it that way. So symptom wise, its name fits it. It is a scab. It forms these little round, regularly shaped lesions or spots, but they're more erupted. They look like a scab. I mean, the name fits it. And it can vary in its severity. You can get quite heavy duty scab, you can get deep pitted scabs, whatever. The point is that it's pretty easy to recognize. Now, when it comes to management, people often think, okay, well, I'm going to change the soil, because when we're trying to deal with diseases, often we're looking at changing things so it's not a friendly environment for the pathogen itself. And so one of those ways of doing that theoretically for the scab is to change the pH of the soil, change it from sort of slightly acidic or neutral to more basic, so up around 8 as a pH. Well, this is great in theory, but realistically the potato doesn't like that range, moving outside of that range either, so you'll see problems occur. So I generally say just don't mess with the pH other than for other reasons. It's just hard to change it anyways. But there are two areas where I would say you should focus. One is on the soil moisture content and how even that is throughout the growing season. So you plant your potatoes come up, they're coming along, and then you start to see flowers on the tops of potatoes, and you think, oh, great. So this is a good sign that there is tubers being set underneath. I mean, it's not a perfect thing, but around that time is when you can expect tubers to be set. And this is the time when you want to make sure that the soil is not dried out. You don't want it filled up with water and saturated. That's a problem. You want it enough water. And what you're trying to do is make an environment where the other microorganisms that are in the soil can compete and fight back and crowd out the scab pathogen. So pretty simple. So that is one good way, is to sort of level out that soil. Don't let it get really dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. Just make sure it's got enough moisture at the time of tuber set. Now the second area is one that 20 years ago I would never have considered it as an option, and that's looking at varieties. Because for a long time all you could find were all varieties of potatoes were at least susceptible to some degree, some more than others, but the best you could get was less susceptible, which is basically saying, well, like, it'll only get a little sick. You're still so anyways. But now there are lots of varieties that you can choose from that give you good resistance. And the best part is that sometimes you say, well, I get a variety that's resistant, but I really like the flavor of this one that I've been growing forever. Well, the nice thing is that there's varieties that are resistant that have really good quality characteristics as well. So beautiful. Take a look, see if you can find something that'll fit. Try out some new varieties, move things around. There are other methods, and in the description below I will put the link to a fact sheet that outlines some of those other things, including some names of different varieties that you might take a look at. So common scab, very common, easy to recognize, less easy to deal with, but in the end there are options for you to manage it. And so take a look, give it a try, and hope you have success.